Hi, I'm Akara.
Namrohan.
Welcome to The Long Take. This week we're discussing the Manoj Bajpayee movie Joram, which came to theaters like a couple of months back after like a long festival run. It's directed and written by Devashish Makhija, and it's set mostly in Jharkhand after an opening in Mumbai, tracking this father and widower who's running with his very young daughter from the authorities. Yeah, what do you make of the movie?
It's been a while since I watched it, but I remember my initial impression was it's fine. But that could have been because of the context in which I watched it. I might have enjoyed it slightly more if I'd seen it in isolation. But I watched it with the closing film at Dharamshala, so coming after like a bunch of real independent movies. This one felt like super Bollywood.
Right.
But yeah, I remember the feeling walking out was that it's okay.
Yeah, I think I actually skipped it at the Mumbai Festival because I just had a packed schedule. And the initial reviews I had read, I think basically had said fine. And after I saw it, I think my complaint is that I think the writing is much stronger than the direction, and I feel like the direction keeps holding back the movie.
In what way?
I don't know. I feel like every scene, I was feeling that if it was like, I don't know, could have been better handled, or maybe like sometimes even like I feel when I'm saying director is better in the writing, it's relative. So even like writing, I would say like, it would be like strongly written, and then the acting that often a lot of times I feel like what Devashish was asking Manoj Bajpayee to do just felt like, I don't know, a note that wasn't working.
I mean, I thought the movie was in like constant like conflict with itself, like about what it wanted to be. Like it wanted to be like this genre movie, right? Like a tight survival thriller, like a chase thriller almost. But then it also wants to pack in so much like social commentary, and then both of those things kind of dilute each other. So it's neither very political beyond the point, nor is it very thrilling, and you're left with like a sense of not quite understanding what the tone is supposed to be, because it's also two separate narratives unfolding in parallel, right? And one is very different from the other. And the movie isn't able to kind of effectively convey the similarities in both these characters' core, which there is a lot of.
You're talking about the through and the cop, right? Or you're talking about
the cop,
the politician as well?
No, not the politician. Politician was very tertiary. Like I feel the movie is mostly about these two men, right?
Yeah.
Which is another issue we might get into later. But yeah, I mean, it never feels like Heat, for instance, which I feel the movie occasionally was trying to kind of touch on. Like both these characters are they don't really have control of their lives. And so those similarities I felt just got drowned out by the sheer like, oh, what does this movie want to be even?
Yeah, I feel like there are parts of it that definitely like came across as similarities, like in terms of when he's at that makeshift basically prison, I'm gonna call it, in Jharkhand. And he's sort of, looking at those tribal men who was held behind bars without much of a reason. In that sense, I think the parallels are like sort of worked for me in sense of how like the Saruz is running is almost like flip side he's got into. But yeah, I think the broader sense of what they're trying to achieve, or they're trying to communicate, this supposedly city cop, stuck in this world that he does not understand, world that he has not a lot of control over, which is basically like Dasru as well. He's just, his power is like nowhere. Like this guy at least has some power, but that guy has no power. He's also stuck in a world he can't comprehend. He's running from. But yeah, it's, as I said, I think for me, it's just the direction keeps like failing the supposedly slightly better, right?
I remember being like into it as long as it was in Mumbai.
Which is like 20 minutes of it, if I'm not wrong.
20 minutes of it. And chalo, let's throw in the train also. Train was also fun.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But uske baad, the minute he because it comes as quite a shock, right? When the wife dies. You're like, oh, you didn't expect her to die.
Right.
And obviously there was no trailer or anything at that point to watch. So no idea what the movie was even. But when that happens, and then he runs and he arrives like back in his home state, and I'm like, whoa, it turns into a different movie. And it's not the movie that I would have imagined. It's not like a Western suddenly.
Right.
It's just the same movie but in a different location. I don't think it's smartly using the landscape also.
it doesn't. Like for that's, and there are moments where like, it's smartly using the different characters available to it. Like this is not how like the people in Bombay would like be behaving around these cops or whatever that's true. But like the landscape for sure does not use it well, because I distinctly remember like sort of zoning out from the movie when that vegetable market chase scene happens.
Oh yeah, that's a mess.
It's just the logistical nature of it, or of just like the way it's developed and set up. I wasn't really into or buying any of it.
Yeah. Although what I did kind of find intriguing, and this is purely because it's so culturally specific, and more of our movies need that, is the Zishan kind of being a fish out of water, right? He's like,
Yeah.
what is this world?
Yeah.
So the cop, the jail cell that you mentioned, which is fairly common, we'll see this. It doesn't have to be Jharkhand, it could be any state, right? But then just that the cop who dresses like a woman and they dance, that was just out of it, almost felt like a dream, and I was like, this movie needs more of that.
Yeah.
To kind of tell you that this entire world exists out there and you don't have any idea about it, and this is what people behave like. And even obviously the character, Zishan's character, is supposed to be like our conduit, right? So I just felt, see, red tape and bureaucracy we are familiar with, right? We know कि ये होता है, but what we don't know is stuff like that. And I mean, this is so much of movie where nothing happens. I was like, let's just at least insert some of those moments. ना अगर तुम actively chase नहीं कर रहे हो, तो I got so bored बीच में. I kept looking at my watch also. I remember कि all
which is for me, it's the direction. I feel like Bajpayee is again and again asked to like almost like turn into this meek person, right? Like where he can't even deliver like a simple line without like stuttering and like tripping over himself. And that to me, like I can understand like why Makhija thought that would like, it's almost like he's trying to communicate the person's fear. But I think what happens for me on the screen is that it just feels like this character I can't really like, I mean, obviously like relate is a weird word, but it's almost like I cannot like easily like, feel for him. Like I'm not sure exactly what he's going through, because he's not able to like even tell us what he's feeling.
I mean, I actually liked how the character was drawn, right? Firstly, like he doesn't speak, which gives you so much, it's a challenging position to be in, right? Because the easiest thing to do is just make him some sort of like this is his land, right? So he could very easily have been designed as somebody who knows कि कौन से पहाड़ के पीछे भागना है, or who the person to rely on is, right? And just knock on their door, stuff like that. Or he could just be more active in terms of here's how I'm going to evade this person who's chasing me. But he's none of those things.
No,
he doesn't speak. He's basically just stumbling into new situations with a baby.
Like the whole time when he's holding onto the backside of the car, and it becomes like after a point it just becomes illogical that this is actually his plan, because I'm just like, 50 people have seen you by now, right?
Yeah. No, but I enjoyed that. Like 50 people have seen you, but how many of them care? That's the question.
No, but after a point it's not like, no, initially that is the underlying thing, is that most people just like don't really care. But after a point he's crossing like checkpoints and he's like, hey, this is working out. No, they know you're there.
I don't know. I thought it also gave like Manoj Bajpayee some room to kind of act also, instead of just like showboating and stuff.
That's, I mean, honestly, the parts where he's not talking are not an issue for me. The parts where he's like, asked to talk, but then talk in this like very like meek fashion where it's like he can't straight together like, stick together more than 3 words without like tripping over himself and being like,
which might be the larger issue here, might be that I understand why the movie is doing it, right? This person has no sense of identity or place, right? You and I can't even imagine what a character like this has gone through.
Exactly.
But the fact that he's played by Manoj Bajpayee, who is like massively famous person, and to have him even attempt to play somebody who's so far removed from even his life,
right?
I think that might be a casting issue, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, I'm watching this character, I'm like, oh, Manoj Bhaiya, like it's almost as if Manoj Bajpayee is being chased, which is not like a knock on the acting. It's just this of all films would have benefited greatly from having an unknown. You have Zishan, that's fine, that doesn't matter. But this particular character, because the person is almost on the fringes of not just like society, but like humanity in a way, right? Because that's how little people think about humans who live in tribes in India.
Yeah, like if you had a news report like flash across a Twitter or whatever media, you was walking across a TV in Bombay and someone said, yeah, one tribal dude killed his wife and he's running around like and needs to be caught, you'd be like, yeah, okay. Like,
I mean,
happens.
I would argue that you would shrug even if they say this entire tribe has been wiped out. That's the level of apathy.
Yeah, you just be like, yeah, okay, this is India, and you just move on to the next thing.
So I don't know. It might just be a casting issue. I'm not sure, but there is obviously some issue that isn't fully kind of gelling. Right, the entire movie is kind of, it's not clicking together. Now we've identified like 5 different things, and I'm sure it's like a combination of all those things. Writing, direction,
Exactly, yeah.
casting, performance, this, that, pacing, all of those things. But again, like I think I've mentioned it before, like maybe very recently, I'm forgetting now, but like I just wish movies would just embrace what they are. You know, you don't have to stop being a survival thriller to, you don't have to stop being like a chase thriller to insert your commentary. Can happen simultaneously. Like we don't need to be shown like entire scenes of, like the opening scene is completely pointless, right?
I think I've forgotten.
Where like some guy is like, ye land mujhe chahiye, and all these people are just silently watching, and then the wife speaks. Shuru mein.
I still cannot recollect. Like it's so gone from my memory. But I remember most of the movie. I remember a similar scene where like, because the woman, the politician is chasing him because her son was killed at the hands of these.
Yeah, all that also happens. I've forgotten that. Like, wo nahi chahiye. We don't want that.
Yeah, so that scene I remember. But like, is that, like, without that, wouldn't the already very black villain become even blacker?
No, like I'm imagining the villain to be like Samuel L. Jackson from like Django, right? We don't need to know कि उसके बच्चे को मारा था, उसके बाप को मारा था Django ने or whatever. Oh, you're a turncoat basically, right? You don't really. So
Right.
I mean, we don't really need all that. It's already like the movie is lagging, and I'm sure like people have pointed that out. कि sir, मतलब यहाँ पे slow हो रहा है, यहाँ पे slow हो रहा है, यहाँ पे slow हो रहा है, and he's been like नहीं ये मुझे ऐसे ही चाहिए. But yeah, like a 90 minutes, more movie should be 90 minutes long, is my takeaway from.
I mean, I don't think that Bollywood has ever gotten that lesson. Like, don't you remember like they took that Run Lola Run movie, which is a perfect B movie.
My God, huh?
And then made it 3x bloated. So yeah, that's India doesn't know like every like movie like needs like, you know, and they started like even that movie. Remember like which we mostly liked actually, that Kartik Aaryan one, the news.
So Dhamaka.
Yeah, again, a good, like, it was not even a good B movie in the original, but like they took that, they made a decent B movie, when they stuck like relationship scenes here and there.
And they stuck relationship scenes. But that's a good.
It starts off.
No, that's a good example, because that movie also has like commentary, but then it happens towards the end where you're like, oh, now it makes sense, you know. But sure, it's like consistently they pause the kind of chase to be like, oh, dekho duniya mein kya ho raha hai. And I'm like, I understand that, but communicate via the character, right? You're not showing it to me through his perspective. You're literally pausing the movie and taking me into this other scene now. Although I did kind of, it's like his third feature movie. I don't know. Anyway, but the
second possibly.
He did Ajji also, no?
Oh, was that? I guess yeah, that was without. Bajpayee.
Yeah, that was him also. No, the point being that now the worrying trend is apparent. Like he's someone who relies on fridging often, and ek baar karo whatever, but like 3 times in a row is like a little concerning, and I don't know if anybody is kind of pointing like it. This could very easily have been I'm forgetting who the actress is who plays his wife, but this could very easily have been like her as the central character,
right?
You know? And like it really honestly wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah, but Bollywood revolves around male hero
trope है ना. तो मतलब even in something so far removed from say like Jawan or like one of those Salar movies, वो मतलब sensibility वही है ultimately, you know.
Yeah, which is like that's the reason which we didn't like mention 5 minutes ago, but that's the reason Bajpayee is miscast, but he's there because they have to sell the movie to a studio.
They have to sell the movie to a studio and get a theatrical release for it. It's unimaginable in today's day. But yeah, I mean, they've overestimated also like the kind of popularity of say the Family Man versus Joram.
Yeah.
Right, because I remember that other movie that he did, which we didn't, I don't think we covered it, but I watched it, that Sirf Ek Banda Kafi. that movie came out on like some Z5, and then post Z5 it came out in theaters, which was weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I've never heard of that kind of strategy being employed or
Yeah,
accepted by the theaters even.
yeah. I mean, obviously nobody watched it in theaters because they'd already seen it, but just the kind of almost borderline delusion. Oh, it's not popular hai Manoj Bajpayee.
Yeah.
We'll put a movie that people have already seen in theaters with the hope that they'll, go and watch it there also. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of overall disappointment.
Yep, that does it then. That's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Threads at The Long Take Pod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review whenever this episode, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.